The hits kept coming in week 2 of the Overwatch League. We'll break down the overtime thriller between the Los Angeles Valiant and the London Spitfire.
That's as good as it gets. What a fantastic match to start the day here.
3 teams remain undefeated, but which one is the best in the league?
Seoul Dynasty are sitting at the top of the pack.
The Outlaws came out guns blazing. How were they able to sweep week 2?
Arguably the most shocking result we have seen so far in the regular season.
Plus, an exclusive all-access look at how the Observer team brings the game to life.
Focus up, guys. Focus up.
And the most emote-worthy moments of week 2. This is Watchpoint.
Welcome to MLG's Watchpoint. Mr. X, Montecristo, and Uber here with you guys to break down all the week 2 action. How you guys feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty terrible right now. I've actually never been sat between 2 uglier pairs of shoes in my life. So my aesthetics are really being assaulted at the moment.
That's messed up, man.
I don't know, man. I'm walking on clouds over here. Maybe if you had nice shoes, you'd be less grumpy.
But Doa's got a pair too. Doa's got a
Fosters
pair
everything,
too.
you know?
Bet you wouldn't say that to Doa.
I say it to Doa every day.
That's true. He financed his shoes, by the way, so he didn't even pay for them up front. He's got them on a payment plan. He doesn't own the shoes until sometime next year.
That's like renting them. It's essentially renting them. We'll discuss more about Doa's shoes later, but we're going to take you through everything that went down week 2 of the Overwatch League, including how the Outlaws turned things around and how the Fuel need to. I'll give my players of the week, and you'll get an exclusive look at how our Observer group and how they capture a lot of what you see on the match broadcast. So let's get things going with our biggest stories from week 2.
Righto, it was a good week for our league's top teams. The Seoul Dynasty, New York Excelsior, and London Spitfire all moved to 4-0. Seoul and New York didn't drop a map all week, whilst London earned 2 hard-fought wins, including an epic 5-map battle against the Valiants.
That was my favorite match of the week by far, but 5 teams are grouped together at 2-2. Houston got even after a rough start, while the Valiants dropped both of their matches. The Shock, Gladiators, and Fusion all split this week, leaving us with a tightly contested second tier behind our leaders.
And the Florida Mayhem are on the board. Florida took out the Shanghai Dragons to notch their first win. They'll hope to build on that momentum in week 3, while Shanghai is still searching for that elusive first W.
And things continue to get worse for the Dallas Fuel, who dropped both of their matches, falling to a shocking 0-4 so far on the season. They also lose XQC for the remainder of Stage 1 after he was suspended by the league and by the Dallas Fuel itself for violations of the player code of conduct due to comments he made on his personal stream.
Tough situation for the Fuel, and here are the complete standings. As we said, 3 teams remain undefeated. Then we have a contentious group of 500 teams in both divisions, with a few teams looking up at the rest of the league, but getting back to those 4-0 squads. It's interesting to look at who these teams have played so far. You look at NYXL, they've had, the toughest opponent, win percentage of the toughest opponents. They have the best records right now. Seoul Dynasty, no, they have not had the toughest road thus far. As we dig into these undefeated teams, Monty, which team's strength has stood out the most this past week?
I think we have to look at the London Spitfire in particular. They're a very aggressive team, and they're running a lot of different strategies that we haven't seen other teams use. Notably, of course, having that Reaper on attack on Junkertown. We've even had them include Fisher and Rascal in their compositions this week, and seen defenses on Dorado with a Torbjorn and a Reaper. So they're a very in-your-face team right now, running that Reaper, trying to get as many DPS players into the front line as they can.
You brought it up last week. Rascal, a bit of a wild card player for this team. We know he wants to be more than that. He wants to be a staple starter DPS. He did show up, though, with some big performances with some of these heroes. But you could see at multiple points he also was exploited by some teams.
Yeah, I think the problem is he wants to be that star player, but you have Birdring and Prophet in front of him, and both of those players are just absolutely silly.
Yeah, exactly. You look at Prophet and Birdring, this is hands down the best DPS duo that we have on any Overwatch League roster. They are the core of this team. But having Rascal there as a backup player to run strategies like we saw, the May defense on Horizon, for example, gives them even more flexibility.
For me, I thought we saw a lot of strengths out of New York this past week. I thought New York played tremendous in both of their matches. They're a very strong team. They've only lost Junkertown to the Houston Outlaws, and then they've lost the Horizon Lunar Colony to the Boston Uprising. Those are the only 2 maps they have dropped thus far. A big match against the Valiant. They show up strong there. They beat the other LA team, the Gladiators. Really impressed with Meko playing the Diva and Roadhog role. I thought he's turned into a tremendous offensive
opting? Well, the thing is, I've been waiting for New York to show us better coordination and teamwork around their ultimates and their support ults. Everybody knows Jonox doing a tremendous amount of damage as Zenyatta, but he has to come up with some better transcendence plays around the team and track enemy ults better. Now, I thought we started to see that this week, which may make New York a real contender for #1.
Interesting, actually. Jonak recently in an interview said he doesn't know how to play Zenyatta at his own level. He was just born with that talent. So he said that, sort of stony faced. So he definitely believed it. But I definitely have to say, Seoul looking very good, but again, hard to really judge their performances thus far. I think they maybe dropped one map in that whole week, and that was, of course, to the Dallas Fuel, a team that is already limping as it is. Obviously, Fletter has already demonstrated and continues to demonstrate just how frightening he is and how deep his hero pool is. Jaehong with the classic Jaehong performances that we've come to know and love.
Yeah, and I don't know what to think about this team, really, because I still don't know exactly when they're going to use these particular players, because they've been rotating through absolutely everybody on this roster, and it's very hard to get a read on what the strategy is behind their decisions. So I think we're going to see, as they start to have a harder schedule, we're going to see them lock down more on some specifics, and we'll be able to really dig into why a certain DPS player or tank player was used on a particular map.
And we know that Seoul Dynasty is so strong. I don't know if we know how strong yet, because we haven't really seen them play like your London Spitfires or your NYXLs. Like, we saw them play
Valiant.
Dallas. Yeah, we haven't seen them play the Valiant. We saw them play Dallas, but we expected Dallas to be much better than what they are. So, Dallas at 0-4 right now. How impressive is that win over them? It's still very good, right? Now, that series was their closest when they played this far.
Yeah, you've got to take it on face value. You've got to look at the series and not Dallas as a team. That series was really close, of course, until they fell apart on Control. That was not good, and it was all downhill from there. But, we know why the New York Excelsior are bringing on someone like Pine, right? We know exactly what that's for. So I want to start to see that it becomes some flavor and character to, Wekid coming on board, or Bunny. What's his purpose on this team? Or Munchkin, for that matter. So a few different looks there as well. But, gentlemen, let's move on to Houston. The Outlaws turned things around big time in week 2, sweeping a perfect 8 maps against Shanghai and Dallas, for what it's worth. So after starting at 0-2, they joined 4 other teams at 500. Mr. X, what was the biggest change in Houston's game this week?
Look, I liked how they kept, pretty much this core 6 together the entire time. They make some subs in for Control. But I liked Linkster on Tracer. I think Monty hit on it a little bit last week in our support group segment on the pre-show. But I really liked how they kept Linkster on Tracer a lot of the time. He's so good at many DPS heroes. You really like to use him as your Genji and as your Widowmaker player. But he's maybe their best Tracer on the roster. I like how they put him more on that hero.
And I think we did see Jake step back up into that Genji role. He did have some decent Genji plays this week. Is he at the same level as Linkster? Probably not yet, but it was important, I think, for Jake to move beyond just having the Junkrat and the Soldier and a very mediocre Pharah. So to have some good Genji play out of him was very encouraging for the diversity and team composition that this roster can field.
And the tank play is looking pretty good as well. We know what we sort of get with Coolmat. We know what to expect. We have high standards for him, but Muma getting especially aggressive on multiple occasions. Now, to be fair, during this week, he maybe went up against a couple of those more passive Winston players. Roshan actually getting subbed out for the Dragons' next match later in the week, so we're not sure why that decision was made. But this guy goes nuts, of course. The Primal Rage kills were really big. I mean, he facilitates the style of someone like Linkster so much when he's that much more aggressive, but it seems like there's been a shift this week specifically.
Well, I mean, the Outlaws have said they built this team kind of starting with Coolmat and Muma, and you're starting to see why. These two guys as a tank combo is so great. You have Spree, who could play the Zarya coming off the bench. We saw him in Lijiang Tower, in some of their previous matches. You have 3 really strong tanks here for the Outlaws.
Yeah, but that said, you touched on it earlier. I think the biggest thing for the Outlaws was having this consistent roster that we saw this week of play. No more real subbing out besides Benny and Boink coming in as a Lucio potential on control maps. But otherwise, it was Jake, Raucus, Coolmat, Muma, and Linkster. And Muma even said in an interview, hey, we're going to stick with this core roster. And it's about making sure that that roster works. That's what London's been doing very effectively. Get that core down and then start to introduce other players rather than sort of playing it willy-nilly and subbing in without any kind of foundation to build off of.
And we talked a lot about, most of their players so far. I thought Raucus had like a sneaky good week in the fact that he can play a tremendous Zen and Ana, right? And then he plays Roadhog on Junkertown. He can come in and play 76 a little bit as well. So I think having a flex support who can do that much and go over to those DPS roles like how Jaehong can do for Seoul Dynasty definitely helps you out.
Absolutely.
And of course, we talk a little bit with Mendo. Actually, we raid with him sometimes during the week, myself and Matt. It's a thing. We do it. You know, we're adults that play video games. It's how it is. But he also discussed that with Tyron coming into the team as well, he's putting together this structure. I think a lot of teams are learning on their own and also from other teams struggling that they definitely favour a top-down roster with very solid management and everyone understanding their role well. So obviously, he hopes to make his way in, obviously, to the roster soon. We know that he's known for a lot of different looks, but it might be a little while before we see him really become, a staple in that roster.
Yeah, I agree. And also, one of the things that Houston did well this week was that we saw a change in their strategy from studying their opponents. And to find success in Overwatch League, you really do have to bring that strategy and that study element in. And Houston Outlaws did a great job of adapting to their opponent's previous strategy. The Moira Tracer Sombra combination is a common strategy used on Horizon Point A for attack. Shanghai had seen success with this in the past. So let's take a look at what I mean by breaking down Shanghai's match versus the Shock, and then we'll get into how Houston countered this themselves. So first off, as we see from the Shock, it is a pick composition. What do I mean by pick composition? I mean they want to use a Roadhog, Hook, a Junkrat, Trap, a Widowmaker headshot to pick off a member of the enemy team and have that 6 versus 5 advantage and win the fight from there. This combination of heroes is relatively low mobility, not a lot of dashes. They will play from the high ground on Horizon defense point A. The other side, Shanghai Dragons. Talked about it. We've got the Sombra coming in to flank with the Tracer and with the Moira. Right here, we're going to see Undead come in and hack a mega health pack on the lower side of the map, and then proceed by dashing invisibly over to the mini health pack. Now, this is going to set up a pincer attack from the high mobility heroes of Tracer, Moira, and Sombra. Translocator goes down first after hacking the pack. There's the invisibility rotating to the other side of point A to hack the pack on the other side. So now Dia is set up here as Undead translocates back to poke on the far side while the rest of the team will attack from the opposite angle. Take a look at Undead's perspective, hack, dash over to the other pack, hack that one and set it up for Dia to get some regen. Obviously, these health packs will also be helping to charge up the EMP should they need to use that ultimate on the point. This is where the attack itself happened. Flanks coming in from both sides. You can see the setup is a giant ring around the enemy team, and they will poke their way in. It makes it very difficult for the San Francisco Shock because they have to come down with low mobility off the high ground to defend the point itself, and they find themselves picked off. Now we're going to take a look at the Houston composition and how they defend. Note that it's a similar comp, except they have moved Linkser over to the McCree, and this is to shut down flankers. You'll also notice they're not going to play on the high ground because they expect this to come in from Shanghai, and it would take them too long to adjust their positioning. So as we look at this, it will be Houston on the point itself, and they're going to back towards the mini health pack to prevent the flank with both hacked health packs for occurring. Linkser is also going to be playing far up towards the choke point, and he's actually going to catch Undead with a flashbang. That's going to immediately shut Undead down. Linkser gets an easy kill after the stun, and this is where everything falls apart for Shanghai. They can't adapt to this defense, which isn't going to allow them to get the flank that they very much need, and they're not going to be able to break through Houston's larger lineup of players. We're seeing the pursuit right now. Pullmat will zone out the tank line, and then it's a 4 versus 3 on the squishier supports and Tracer coming in from the Shanghai Dragons. After that, you have the Junkrat tire here just to get some final kills heading into this and prevent that flank attack from ever occurring. So that's a great adaptation in terms of strategy and positioning with a slightly different composition from Houston.
Yeah, I love the way that they brought the McCree into the action, and also, having the Diva instead of the Roadhog, a little bit more mobility to get around, protect your supports a little bit more. So good coaching from Houston. We talked about Tyron coming into the mix, definitely making an impact. And with 12 matches each week, there's so many great plays, and as we're casting, we're impressed time and time again. But there are some moments that catch us completely off guard and just make us say, wow. This segment's devoted to those moments. It didn't see that coming. Monty, kick us off.
Well, I didn't see Dia coming this week with a no-look pulse bomb. Nobody's going to see this pulse bomb on the side of the Florida Mayhem.
It's pretty frightening as well. You see Uzbal, he just gets the trajectory just right, so the pulse bomb travels a little bit farther, but that's super fast. This guy's mechanics are very clearly up there, and you can see then he's able to clean up the rest of the fight. It's a shame we don't get to see that more of that showcase, but here's my boy Birdrings McCree waiting around the corner for Effects Tracer. It's literally one of my favorite things to see in the game. The flash, hits a headshot, and he's done.
Well, predicted flashbangs on recalls are always exciting, right?
Yeah, and I think, Effects just trying to do so much for the Dallas Fuel right now, just goes in a little bit too deep. Birdring makes him pay for it. Birdring's teammate Bedosin catches Soon trying to backcap. I loved this. We were casting this one with the antics that Soon pulled off against the Dallas Fuel. Bedosin's like, nah, I'm not having any of that.
I actually think that's my favorite play of the week. It's such a good read, too, because Soon has such excellent game sense around objectives, and we've seen him tap that card in a few too many times. Here we've got the Spitfire looking for an ultimate combo of a Graviton Surge into a D.Va self-destruct, but that shuts it down. That one hook, dropping Rascal down into the pit, prevents them from getting the combo off and maybe even winning that point.
Check this one out, though. This one's a little bit of fun. Sometimes we see those Bunny Blaster shenanigans from D.Va players, but Envy is ejected from the suit and then manages to take Birdring as he goes on the way down. Not always easy shots to hit. You don't do a lot of damage there, but that's beautiful.
No, and the slow-mo makes it look easy when they slow the clip down. It's like, that's in real time right there. Like, that is so difficult to pull off. Oh, by the way, he's also, like, trying to manage what's going down on the ground when he's about to land.
Yeah, that's a rough one. For the first time in Overwatch League history, we have a reverse sweep as the Gladiators battle back to come down from 2-0.
Yeah, definitely a scrappier kind of game. They're kind of what we expect from these teams, especially the more newly formed Philadelphia Fusion, but a lot of fun. The arena was going nutty through. We got a lot of Gladiators fans and even some Fusion fans in the mix there. Here's my boy Baby Bay catching Carpe off guard with a Genji deflect. Must have had a really bright and colourful lure for this one. Not the first time in a series he did that either, by the way. Does it again later on in their last game of the weekend against the Uprising.
He's been watching the Brenji. He's been taking some tips. Bren, a resident Genji player here. Take a look at Fusion's Poco. He teams up with Shadowburn to continue his self-destruct rampage. The grab comes down. The D.Va bomb comes on through. I believe he picks up 4 here with this self-destruct. Poco just, it's not even like comparable, like his self-destruct kills versus the rest of the league. It's just insane the amount of kills he's able to pick up with the D.Va ult. And that's didn't see that coming.
Poco, Philadelphia Fusion. I'm from French, Nîmes.
Poco has been so amazing with his D.Va bomb.
Personal goal for the Overwatch League Season 1 to become the best D.Va player in the world.
All right, here comes the Poco self-destruct. He getting kills? Yes, he does find Sleepy with it.
Before the Overwatch League, I went through all the maps and I practiced every spot, every corner, everything, basically.
Poco back again. Poco with 2 more kills on the D.Va ult.
We missed the preseason, so we didn't have much time on stage. We are working really hard to get on that level.
And then Poco, we talked about his ultimates. Well, his teammates set him up for that one to the 4K.
I'm proud when I do a triple kill or even a quadra. I mean, it's really rewarding.
Oh, Poco! Gotta catch them all, Poco, man.
It's time for Attack or Defend, where Mr. X and Uber unfortunately have 45 seconds to fight for my approval.
Shame.
By attacking or defending a point, and I choose to validate one of them, whoever agrees with my opinion, which they may or may not know. So let's get to our first one. The Fuel have started the season 0-4. They are also dealing with the drama surrounding XQC. As we said, he has been suspended for the remainder of Stage 1, but the point here is, despite a rocky start, the Fuel will overcome these early season issues. Uber, attack or defend?
I can defend this because it's kind of a non-specific point. They will overcome these issues. Now, we're not going to discuss whether it's going to happen this season. The fact is, though, they're returning to their former glory, of course. They've got that old Envy roster in, right? I know there's drama, but I don't really care about people trying to be hysterical about it. Okay, they've got the 6 players now. They've got the pool to work with. You can work Seagull in or whatever. It's fine. Go back to basics. They will recover, 100%.
So you want more classic envy? You think that's how they get over the
Yes,
hump?
well, at least for now, yes.
I'm going to attack this. I think, there's just so much drama with the team right now. It's a really rough start. I think you got to add some more players to this roster. You add more players. You're going back and kind of resetting everything. Yeah, they just don't have the players that have a lot of deep hero pools. They need to add some more. So
why would you want to add more players to this roster?
Because you need more. Because clearly this roster's not working.
That was the problem.
Going back to
this was the problem.
Yeah, but you think going back to the old ND roster is going to work?
You get the easy point.
Is going to work.
You still mess up the argument.
I think you both have good points, but I'm going to give this one to Uber because the point is they're going to get out of the 0-4 slump, and I agree that the classic Envy roster is capable of doing that, especially this coming week against some of the weaker opponents. We have to say they had a pretty strong strength of schedule, so will they be the best team in the league? Probably not without adding additional players. That was a hard one. I think you guys both had good points, but I'm going to go with Uber.
Rigged.
All right. Okay, the next one. The dive composition, the core of which is Tracer, Genji, Winston, and Diva, has been the most commonly run composition throughout the first 2 weeks. Simple point here. Dive is the best comp to run in Overwatch League. Mr. X, you're up first. Attack or defend?
I'm going to defend this. This is the best comp to run in Overwatch League right now. I think with the state that Mercy is in the game, you cannot play for picks. You sit back, you play for picks. It's going to get rezzed easy. Then you can't really dive, finish those kills off. I think the way to go is to play dive. You get in, you finish a kill off. Mercy can't res. You take away her strongest mechanics, and then you just take everybody else out.
So there's no reason to play a risky composition as dive, which it is. Genji Tracer going to the back line to try and get kills and only to have them rezzed is super risky. And then losing your Tracer, now you need to try and res a player in the enemy backline. It's not going to happen. This is a safer composition because Mercy's straight busted right now. You play around the picks, of course.
So what would you play?
Orisa Hog combo is super strong. Play Orisa Hog, you play McCree.
How have we seen teams go out of Orisa Hog and have success?
What are the quality of those teams?
Is it dive?
What are the quality of those teams,
the dive,
by the way?
Is that how we've
Are you really trying to tell me we're going to use like the Florida Mayhem or someone as an example of why the dive comp?
Have we seen dive take that comp out?
See, this is hard because I agree with the Mercy point that Mitch is making, but I do think dive, for different reasons than you said, which is that I think it's the most versatile composition that you can play on every map.
You definitely win that argument because you argued it terribly.
No.
Thanks.
Monty agrees with me, though.
I'm going to go with Mr. X.
Deep down, he knows something.
That's his bollocks.
If you dive properly, like he's saying, the Mercy isn't going to get a chance to res because you can zone them out. So, but I think it's different totally for why it's the overall best composition.
It offers something.
We'll give Mr. X.
Points.
We'll give Mr.
Yeah, okay.
So last one. Shanghai Dragons have struggled so far. They are 0-4 in this young season, and the team seems to be feeling some pressure to turn things around after their slow start. And this includes the Dragons' manager, Yang Van, who wrote on Twitter, "I am here to offer my sincere apology to all the fans of the Shanghai Dragons and Overwatch. I am the first to blame and responsible for the less than stellar results. I am sorry to have disappointed all the players." Point here, we're just 2 short weeks into the season. So should the Dragons manager be apologizing already? Uber, attack or defend?
I'm going to defend this and say that they should be apologising. Not because they lose games, that's fine. You want to lose games, not a problem. But you have a boosted coach, 2 players that share accounts, by the way. You know, we have reports of how these teams have been performing and what the setup has been like. I think you can definitely apologise for the lead-up. How you chose your players might be a good example of that. Yeah. Losing games is fine. Matt does it all the time. You don't see him.
No. I only lose games like you and Mitch. That's the only problem. I win with Brett and Sideshow. But you don't have to apologise for this. I mean, we know you're not playing good right now. They apologize to the fans. I get that. You apologize to Overwatch. I don't know if it's the fans Overwatch. I don't know if it's the game of Overwatch. I don't know who you're apologizing to. You don't need to apologize. They've already apologized for some of the other stuff that you've talked about. Yeah, they have. And you just need to go back. You need to work on the game. Don't spend your time writing up apologies. Spend your time working on strats. Figure your tanks out.
I think you're absolutely right, Mr. X. I think it's ridiculous to apologize this early, even though they have done certain things wrong. To make it such a blanket statement, you're sort of inviting further criticism from the fans when you're trying to work out your problems in a realistic way. And obviously, this team is going to be working on those issues in the future.
I'll be honest, I had to do some mental gymnastics to put myself on the other side. I think I almost got there. I could go on Twitter.
You brought us a valid point.
Same thing with me with the fuel. I was
like the Huffington Post out here.
All right. So Mr. X is going to go ahead and win.
Undefeated.
You definitely didn't lose the second one. You definitely didn't win that one. Sorry.
Undefeated, 2-0.
You're now tied up after week 2. But if you're wondering how our Overwatch League match broadcasts come together and how we are able to cover all the action, a large part of it rests on a very talented group of observers with a unique process for capturing the in-game excitement. It's pretty fascinating, so let's take a look.
The Boston Uprising looking for a major upset as they take on the 3-0 Seoul Dynasty.
4, 3, 2, 1, and live. We're in the observer room backstage at Overwatch League Season 1. Going to 3, on 3, going to 2, going to 2. Just yell on 3, please. Going to 2, then I'm gonna go back to 4 here. All the gameplay footage, everything that you see from the match is done in this room.
Oh, nice pick on the Toby. Gamsu really punishing this.
I have 4 observers that do live switching, and I switch between the action to try to tell the best story possible. Give me May on 3. I need May on 3. That was good. He's gonna have Dragon Blade again. Overwatch is one of the hardest games to do. A traditional sport, you got a puck to watch, a ball to follow. This, you have 12 people on the field at any time, and all 12 of them are doing something important.
Both supports done.
Easy peasy, man. Seoul Dynasty will win the map and go up 2-0 in this series.
Communication is important, but the less we have to talk, the better. The more that we can read. Going in the game. We have 2 free cameras, 2 first-person cameras, and a overview map that we use. Focus up, guys, focus up. I have 2 free camera operators. They use Xbox controllers. It's almost your typical stadium camera of looking at all the action at once.
Seoul comes storming back on the back of a couple tank ultimates.
So we have a map tool that we're able to see where players are on the map. That's not in-game, so we try to get it on broadcast as much as possible.
Boston certainly not going down without a fight here.
Nate does all the really cool highlight footage that we do, all those really cool slow-mo 360 shots, and those are special tools that we only have here at Overwatch League. We want to entertain the viewer. We want to keep them educated. We just try to stay focused and give it everything we got. Going forward, 4-4, holding on 3. That's pretty good.
Another impressive showing from Seoul Dynasty.
There were so many standout performances in Week 2. I want to award them all, but we just don't have that kind of time. Instead, I'll be crowning one player from each conference with my award of excellence. Let's start with the Atlantic Division winner this week. It's the London Spitfires Bird Ring. This week, he played a league-high 10 heroes. He can play every one at a high level. Really, the reason why the London Spitfires are able to play so many interesting compositions. He was 3rd overall in the league with 254 eliminations this week. He made a big difference, whether it was on the Roadhog and especially in the Game 5 against the Valiant, playing the Widowmaker, the Reaper as well. Just the guy is so talented on all these heroes. Really allows them to do so many things that a lot of other teams cannot do. Just has supreme aim, whether it's hit scan, and he can also play projectile, which you don't see a lot of players be able to do, to be able to play both of those. Let's go on to the Pacific Division, and the award in this division is going to go to the Houston Outlaws' Jake this week. I thought Jake was a big difference maker for the Outlaws in their match against the Fuel. He was 2nd in eliminations per 10 minutes with 33.28, 1st in damage per 10 minutes with 11.3k, and 2nd in Dragon Blade kills per 10 minutes with 8.12. Look, we know what the guy can do on Junkrat. It's become a little bit of a joke, right? The Jake Rat. But his Genji play is what I want to talk about. So dominant. The positioning was great. I thought his Genji really made a difference for the Houston Outlaws. Again, so many stars to pick from, but only 2 can truly be considered excellent. For some more perspective on the week that was, let's go where no one wants to go, inside the mind of Montecristo. Let's go into the full Monty.
Florida men were released from Wynn Prison this week after an incarceration that began in December. Originally arrested for an attempted heist of a top slot in the Overwatch League standings, they found themselves undermanned at the scene of the crime and failed in their getaway. Now officially placed on Wynn probation, the Mayhem gang are expected to commit a new crime against Overwatch and land behind bars in the coming week. In other news, in a constant struggle to control his actions, Dallas Fuel player XQC invented a new and surprising way to feed this past week. After watching numerous nature documentaries, XQC drew inspiration from mother birds and vomited $2,000 directly into the mouth of the newly hatched Overwatch League. XQC remains unsure if the owl chick will need further sustenance and is considering providing further funds for its growth through his future on-stream behavior. In spite of the refineries in Houston, rendered inoperative by Hurricane Harvey, the hardest struck city for fuel appears to be Dallas. Once brimming with an enviable energy, Dallas flamed out in the middle of last Wednesday and went dark for the following 10 days. Crews were dispersed to provide additional gasoline, but logistics issues with new employees prevented the reigniting of Dallas's engines. Dallas citizens currently in total despair until the tank is refilled. That's the full Monty for this week.
Starting off the season 0-2 was kind of demoralizing, but I mean, like finishing this week 2-2 will definitely like bring it back. No, there's nobody in this league right now that's not beatable. Once we get through Shanghai, we'll worry about Dallas. That's kind of the mentality right now.
I think we practice really hard, like how to play the game together as a team. And I feel like every step and every game has been like a step to like a better teamwork and better Houston Outlaws.
So Houston is currently on stage playing their first game of week number 2, and actually, they're coming out really, really strong, very little resistance from the Shanghai Dragons. Let's see if Houston can actually walk away with their first win of this season.
Let's check out a couple of these shots from Linkser here at the end of that.
Just finding them from behind the boxes, and
that's
then
nice.
Turn and casually pick up the enemy Widow through the top.
Easy clap.
I've only died one time.
I had 2 deaths and they were both res.
I've only died once.
And there you have it. The Houston Outlaws are walking away with their first victory, and that puts them 1 and 2 on the scoreboard. And I gotta say, it was a convincing victory also against the Shanghai Dragons. They pulled off the 4-0 sweep, and they really showed that they're a force to be reckoned with.
I think a game like that is more like just validation of the work we've been putting in as a team. We were able to, use some strategies that we've been developing and some play styles that we've been working on for a while and really just play clean Overwatch. We definitely take Fuel as a much more scary and serious opponent. So it's going to be a very different match against Fuel, but I think we're going to come away from it with a win as well.
Well, today you're in for a real treat. We kick things off with the battle for Texas. Dallas Fuel going up against the Houston Outlaws. Yeah, you guys can cheer. Let's make some noise.
Powerful, and here it is. Jacob's looking for the opening. He's got the Dragon Blade, and it's time to hack and slash. Effect not able to get the flashbang off in time. And look what happens. He just murders the back
line. This is a team that when their communication is weak, and it seems like that's their problem, is that their team play and communication are weak. The hardest punish possible is when we're diving them as one. Like, Dallas is not doing that at all. So dive is extremely punishing comp against them.
Go! They said, do they have any? Woo! Woo! Let's go! Who runs Texas? We run Texas! Guys, I have the remote. Battery is obviously not included, but you know what that means, right? It is time for emote control. We're gonna flip through some of the most emote-worthy moments of the week. Let's get started with this one. This is a bit funny. This is, you ever got told not to play in traffic when you were young? This is perhaps why both Jake and Dak go the way of the weary as they step out onto the asphalt.
All right, okay, I'm gonna give this one definitely a fail fish coming in. Pretty embarrassing to get killed by the cars on Oasis, although I did appreciate that our spectating stats team gave us the 100% successful kill rate for the cars on Oasis.
I went with what face on this one. I kind of understand the Jake one. He's out there, in the hit by the car. He's dashing on through. The Dak one, though, is kind of unfortunate. He gets hit with, I believe, a concussive blast and then not able to just use the Guardian-able ship to get back to a teammate in time.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I found that pretty funny. I think that the best stat is that Timey, who I think has 50% of the car deaths so far in that part. But credit to Dak, he must have just used his Guardian Angel or something didn't work, or maybe didn't realize how close he was. So I know he didn't just walk out there. There was a concussive blast. Gonna give a bit of a lull for that one. But let's check our next one out here as well. This one, this one. What a super fan here, of course. The London Spitfire bringing in the heavy artillery here. 12 zoning ults, I believe is what it says on his card. I love it. This guy is getting around.
I love that we're seeing this guy. This is a big Pog champ for me. He's wearing the Spitfire gear, supporting his team, dressed up as Reinhardt. Love the zoning ultimate card that he's wearing around his neck. Very creative way to support his team and have a bit of fun here at the arena.
I'm going to go with Boneface, the enhanced version of PogChamp. I think it's great to see people come to the venue dressed up, supporting their teams. I think I saw a clip from him on social. He's got like a video of him just kind of on the back of the stage, everybody going crazy. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, I'll throw Poggers in the mix there as well. It's just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the way he wrote that card. There's the in-joke of Zony ultimates for Reinhardt players as well. Obviously, for those that aren't aware, that's an ultimate that gets no kills, but theoretically forces someone out of position. So a lot of fun. Smart guy. Let's check the next one here now as well. My boy Fleta, double direct 3K on Oasis. This is just so filthy, obviously coming in there with the barrage afterwards here. Talking about Soul, we're talking about maybe the less proven, but this guy definitely knows how to flaunt it.
All right, you ready for this one? Resident Sleeper, because Fleta has done so many amazing things at this point. This is actually one of his less incredible clips. So by Fleta's own standards, this one isn't quite as exciting.
I went with Whatface because it's just, what are you going to do about that? Like, the guy is just unreal. I feel like every week he ends up in this section with just an insane play, able to hit those rockets so difficult in the sky.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to go for the baby rage here. I want to see, you know, even a bit more Widowmaker from this guy, even some McCree thrown in the mix. We'll see plenty of Farah from him. We get it. You're good, bro. Maybe mix it up on that particular map, but still, it's hard to ask for anything more than that. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I had to fight an emote. I had a couple seconds. I had to dig through my pile. What are you going to say? Shore4 here. Yeah, this is actually an interesting moment. Look behind. It wasn't Shore4, but it's what's on his phone. Shore4's my dad. Is he your dad, though, really? Are you sure that you are his progeny? Are you sure that he spawned you, that you were conceived by this man? Would you want to be conceived by this man? A lot of questions. Also, I don't know if I'd want my dad to go around with a purple wig calling himself Tasumi, but that's just me.
Hey, you can't help who your family is, right? But this is definitely a Kappa moment. Obviously a fan, not being super serious, and Daddy Shore4 did deliver in at least his DPS play this week.
Yeah, and this fan had so many different things on his cell phone the entire weekend. They were pretty funny. You know, some stuff about Mercy, I believe. There was a guy, I don't know if it was him with the Symmetra main thing in the background. They were kind of teasing Crumbs with giving him wings. So I went with a lull here. I think this is just pretty funny.
Seeing how good he is with a shake weight, I strongly doubt Shore4 has any children, by the way. I think he's being taken care of. Let's move on here. There's a bit of timing action now. He's playing May, and something doesn't go quite right here. Obviously, he's trying to get the ice block here. Now, look, there's a reason behind this one. We'll talk about it in a sec. He doesn't land on the point, though, when he uses that ice block. Bit of an unfortunate moment, but I think, you know, you got to look a little bit closer at this clip to see what is actually going on.
So I'm going to go with Lul. So a lot of fans thought that this was a reactionary play. He actually ice blocks. He's predicting the flashbang, but it's not reactionary. It was a little bit awkward for him to get back onto the point. However, that said, it was unlikely that they were going to be able to pull out of this scenario, even if he does get back on the point. So it's not exactly the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I went with a PogChamp here. I actually thought this was a pretty nice play to dodge the flashbang. I mean, what are his options here? You know, ice block, dodge the flashbang, get on, maybe stay alive for a little bit longer, or just what? Just walk out of the spawn, get hit by a flashbang. Everyone would have said, no, why didn't you try and dodge it, get out of the way? So I actually think this is a pretty neat play from Timon.
The real question was the placement of the ice wall, actually. But
yeah,
not to get too far into it.
Yeah. Maybe like another step forward.
Ice wall could have been a little bit earlier. I think maybe to block the flashbang or ensure him to get onto the point fine. But again, this is him reacting in real time. He's got an idea that he wants to try and get onto the point, but he quickly changes that up when he realizes the flashbang's coming in. It's actually very fast reaction time, despite it kind of looking like a blooper. Let's have a look at our last one here as well. This is a bit of fun. The Gangnam Style entrance here from the Florida Mayhem. I mean, these guys have got it down. It's quite funny to see like a group of, you know, like European guys like here, like, you know, very, you know, Swedish, Scandinavian, of course, the Belgium in the mix, everybody embracing some of this action. But I do love that they really work so hard on it. The second part of the clip's so good.
I'm definitely, this is an old meme. It doesn't check out, sir. I'm gonna go with Whatface. They execute it relatively well, but at the same time, they're gonna spend a lot of time getting Gangnam styled on by a lot of these all-Korean rosters.
Listen, they'll always have a few games a season they can bring this out, though. I love seeing this from the Florida Mayhem. You know, Swoosh comes out one time with the money walk. I really feel like, though, they're starting to get their teamwork done. You see Logic's chiming in this time. He was somebody not dancing before. They got Logic's on board dancing. See it transition over into the game. The Mayhem are coming.
Yeah, I've got to say I enjoyed that. It's nice to see Logic come out of his skin. I already talked about it a little bit there, but now he's getting involved in this stuff. It's fun. But if they had so much time to work on their dance while they were going up against Shanghai, there probably could have been a few other things they could have shored up. Just a thought. Anyway, that does it for Remote Control. A bit of fun. It's almost time for our Hindsight from week 2. But guys, even the best remote controller catches the occasional commercial. We'll be right back.
Overwatch fans, do you wonder where Tavik and Zupe get their outdated dance moves? Here's your chance to get an inside look at how it's done with Move It Like Mayhem, the new instructional video that breaks down all of Florida Mayhem's favorite dances and shows you how to do them. Learn outdated classics like the Hokey Pokey.
Put your left hand in and take your left hand out.
Move It Like Mayhem shows you all the greatest moves you thought were a thing of the past. But thanks to the Florida Mayhem, they're back, baby.
Give me some of those shoulders. Get that up on the head. Now I want to see them hips shake.
It's the dance instructional video Overwatch League Commissioner Nate Manzer calls life-changing, and the Mayhem swoosh approves.
It's absolutely amazing.
And it's ain't no lie. Bye, bye, bye.
And for a limited time, we'll throw in a loose handful of teriyaki beef jerky. Move it like Mayhem. Call now.
I absolutely love the Florida Mayhem. I think whoever coordinates their dances should be the stage 1 MVP.
Is that right? Well, it was fun to resurrect some of those dances from our past, our teenage years, and even earlier. But I think, like Mercy's Resurrect, I'd just like to see it removed.
Yeah, the Macarena is the one that I had the hardest time with.
Yeah, I think, he's been too busy up on these Call of Duty stages where everyone does this dance move like after the game. Like it's like that at each other. Apparently that's like a thing.
Yeah, the winning team, they usually give like the choking emote, or maybe they dab if the series isn't that
well,
close.
we save this emote these days, or this dance, for the Dallas Fuel. Not really relevant to the Florida Mayhem.
That's a rough one. Week 2 is in the rear view, and now that we've had time to reflect on everything that happened, we'd like to provide a little bit of hindsight. Monty, start us off.
Now, many fans thought the start of this season would see the Boston Uprising not doing terribly well. However, in our preseason and our regular season, they looked like they may be a middle-of-the-pack team. However, after this close, admittedly, loss to the San Francisco Shock, they're dropping a little bit in my power rankings. I think that because they can only really run the Tracer Genji dive, that we're not going to see that much strong play out of them as a team from this point forward. So they're readjusted, I think, towards that 8th to 10th place category, rather than, I think, being a playoff contender for the moment. I also learned in hindsight, as we saw Semler sub in as the head of the analyst desk, locking down that anchor position, that he looks absolutely beautiful when you put a handful of glitter in his beard. Just magnificent sparkling we saw from him as the host.
Well, you know what they say, you can't shine a poop, but you can put glitter on it. But in hindsight, though, for me, the Los Angeles Valiant are the real deal. We kind of weren't sure about it coming into this week. Tough week that went up against 2 of the biggest teams in the Overwatch League, of course, New York and then London. The latter, of course, went all the way. These guys are big contenders going forward. Soon, really coming back into his own. We talked about him actually falling off before the Overwatch League started, but he's now taken to this one, and it's been fantastic to see that team gel even further.
And I want to talk about NYXL. I think they have cemented their spot as a top 2 team. I think coming into the previous week, a lot of people had concerns. Maybe the Valiant were going to knock them off. They took care of the Valiant. They come in, they take care of the Gladiators as well. 4-0 right now. They've only lost 2 maps up until this point. I think this week against Seoul, they have a real shot at winning that match. They have a great front line in terms of Mono, Meko, and Janice. They're DPS players we all know, and Jonak to be star potential players at any time. I think NYXL is a top 2 team, maybe even the best in the world.
But you won't say it. You're too soft to say they're the best team.
They're the best team in the world.
There we go. Got it out eventually.
That does it for Watchpoint. Check out every episode of Watchpoint at overwatchleague.com and MLG.com. We'll see you next time.